Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakbadash. And I want to say Shalom to all knockoff out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's titled Ease Hatred, Black 007, and Richard Montañez. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Richard Montañez, or however you pronounce that, right? So, little dual topic, right? So, right off the bat, we'll just jump right into it, right? We'll jump into it. Now, some people may know about this whole situation. I knew about this situation. Well, I didn't know about the lawsuit, all right? But I knew about this guy. A lot of people do, all right? Some people don't. But this guy, Richard Montañez, is the guy, not that claimed, but he's the guy that made Hot Cheetos, right? They made a whole movie about it. I believe it had to have probably been licensed through Frito-Lay, because they had the Frito-Lay logos in it and everything, talking about Cheetos, talking about all that. It had to have been licensed. As a matter of fact, we can go and check that. So let me go and see. And I'll ask, and I'll see. Now, I'm going to see, you might not be able to hear me, but I want to see if it can hear what I say. Here, I want to see if I can get the AI to talk back. All we need to know. That's all we needed to know. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit. A bunch of lies. Alright, why are you going to get promoted for fucking promoting Hot Cheetos and being all, you literally were the ethnic outreach guy to get to the Mexican community, and you were saying, hey, these guys were selling Cheetos, and they were trying to sell all these Cheetos, and he says, well, they're not spicy, so they're not going to sell to the Mexican company, right? And because of that, he went on to literally develop Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and you guys liked the idea, but you didn't want to give him credit where credit was due, and now after all these years of non-battling, now all of a sudden there's been an issue, and saying, oh, he never made it. I mean, before it was never debated, right? So this is from Chicanos Worldwide. You can see down here, I'm reading this part. It says, breaking entrepreneur Richard Montañez, the former Frito-Lay executive who rose to fame for claiming he invented the wildly popular Flamin' Hot Cheeto snack, has officially lost his defamation lawsuit against Frito-Lay and the parent company PepsiCo. Of course, because when Esau wants something, it's just like the same thing, they don't give any recognition to the guy that made Jack Daniels. They don't give any recognition to any of the guys that made any of the original thing. The company takes over, and now they made it, all right? And they don't like it being talked about that somebody else made it. So that's the type of shit that happens, and that's what Esau does. I wanted to read a little bit more right here. It says the lawsuit filed in 2023 alleged that the corporations damaged Montañez's reputation by publicly denying his role in the product's creation. So they don't even want to acknowledge that he had a role at all, right? It said Montañez had long been celebrated as a rags to riches corporate success story, a Mexican-American janitor who claimed he pitched the ideas for Flamin' Hot Cheetos in the late 1980s and eventually rose through the company ranks. However, Frito-Lay conducted an internal investigation in 2021 and concluded that he did not play a part in developing the product. Of course, they did an investigation on themselves, and they viewed that he had nothing to do with it. Bullshit. That's that type of scammy shit that Esau does. It says, according to the company, Flamin' Hot Cheetos were created by a team of product developers at Frito-Lay's corporate office, and documentation of Montañez's involvement was not involved in their archives, or was not found in their archives. So they didn't write down that he had any involvement in their archives. So he didn't have anything to do with it, right? Montañez responded with a defamation lawsuit, arguing that the public disavowal of his claims had tarnished his reputation, harmed his business ventures, and undermined decades of personal storytelling. But on Friday, a federal judge dismissed the case, ruling that Frito-Lay and PepsiCo's statements were protected corporate speech, backed by documented evidence, and did not rise the level of defamation. Dots. Comment right here. He definitely invented Hot Cheeto, but for some reason, they're now trying to destroy his hard-earned legacy. And this is right here. I love this comment. Sounds about white. Caucasians always want to take everything. It's true. All these fucking, you Edomites, you want to take everything, man. It says they made a movie about him and he still lost. It says, And there's another one, 1,000 likes. It says, so we're supposed to believe that a bunch of white people invented hot Cheetos? You know damn well no white people fucking made hot Cheetos, especially Flamin' Hot Limon. All right? Nobody fucking, no white person came up with that. Fuck no, they didn't. All right? Just like all the shit you see that white people claims their fame from, they didn't make that shit. All right? They claim they made American food. Wings came from black people. Barbecue baby back ribs came from black people. Collard greens came from black people. Cornbread came from Native Americans. Now, lie again, Esau. Lie again. All right? Go and say something again. All you motherfuckers do is take. You can't do shit for yourself. All right? You can't make shit for yourself. All right? At all. All right? So you get Jake, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that make shit, and then you go and you lie and say that you made it. All right, and then you steal their idea, and you're the earth is given the hand of the wicked, as the scriptures say. So when they try to go and say, hey, I made it, they say no you didn't, and then the court's gonna say no you didn't, and then the people that worked at the job are gonna say no you didn't, and the documentation's gonna say no you didn't. Destroy that paperwork. We don't want any of Richard Montañez. Destroy it. We don't know, because we have to pay him a royalty. Destroy it. Get rid of it. He had nothing to do with it at all, right? So, but the thing is, Esau's stories don't add up, right? Right here it says, this is a Grand Champion Shiesty. It says, I worked for Frito-Lay, and the first training classes when you first hired is how they talked about how he invented Flaming Hot Cheeto, and they tell his story, and that was in 2018, right? So, there's that, and we'll get to this one later. But yeah, man, that's all they do is just lie. They lie, man. They just lie. All right, because that's who Esau are. They're liars. Let's get Psalms 58 and 3. Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the death adder that stoppeth her ear. So that's what they do. They go as soon as, of course, you can't speak right as soon as you're born, but, you know, they're already in that lying spirit. I've showed you those videos of those little white babies. They'll walk by a door and they'll, like, hit the door, and then, you know, they'll have the baby, and the baby doesn't get hurt, but, like, the parents will walk through a door frame, they'll, like, tap the door frame and go, oh, you poor thing, and the baby will start crying. Little white babies, right? It's already in them to lie, all right? It's already in them to be little fucking lying little gremlins, man. All right, they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And that's what they do. They lie. Oh, you had no involvement. You had nothing to do with this. Oh, we're not evil. We don't do that. We don't hate anybody. We don't hate Jake. We don't do this, right? Liars, man. Go ahead and lie. Lie more about the lies that you lied about. You know, street teacher says they lied about the lies that they lied about. That's what happens, man. Go ahead and lie more about the lies that you lie about. Fucking liar, man. And you wonder why nobody likes you. All right? Esau's always fucking crying. Fucking little crocodile. Oh, nobody likes us. It's racism. Nobody likes you because of who you are, man. All right, you wonder why the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans don't like you after all you've done to us. And you wonder why the nations don't like you when you are constantly act like a piece of shit. All right, and you lie about things, and you persecute people, and you steal people's lands, and you all this shit, and you kill, you rape, you rob, you murder, and you wonder why nobody likes you. All right, because you're a little snot-nosed kid that grew up. You're like a baby with a gun, man. You're like a killer little baby, and nobody wants you. You lie. All right, you constantly gaslight people, and nobody wants to be around you. All right, nobody likes that type of shit. It's fucking annoying, okay? And you're evil, and when you're called out as being evil, here it is, you kill people, but when you say, oh, you white people kill people, no, that's hateful. You do. What did you do in the Middle East? You killed people. That's what you did. What did you do in Vietnam? You killed people. What did you do over in Germany and France? You killed people. What do? You kill people. You're a killer. You're a murderer. That's who you are. You kill people. You're a murderer and a liar. Okay? You're a murderer and a liar. And if you don't like being called a murderer and a liar, well, too bad. So sad. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. Don't be a fucking killer and a liar then. And you can't stop from being that because that's who you are. It's built within you. You just can't stop. You can't get right. That's just who you are as a person, man. And you wonder why nobody likes your colonizing ass, man. Right? And you go and you can't even let Jake have nothing. All right? Can't have Jake do nothing. If you're not lying, you're coming, sideways, all right, trying to come with subtlety but still with your lies in there, still with your deceptive behaviors in there, man. right? And that's the other thing, that I want to talk about. Aaron Pierre is reportedly being considered as the next James Bond. You can see it here. This black guy to the left. I'm not too familiar with him as an actor. I'm not the biggest in movies, though, a movie buff, so I don't know if he's, popular or not. But it says Aaron Pierre is reportedly being considered as the next James Bond. And, you had white people in the comments talking about, it's not a problem of his race. It's a problem. There's a lie right there. It's not a problem of his race. Stop. Lie. That's a lie. It's not a problem about its race. It's about 007. 007 was never white. He can't be white, right? Talking stuff like, he was never written as white. He has to. It fits his character. And a lot of other people were on there saying, no. Nowhere ever does it say that 007 had to be white, all right? The stipulations are he has to be British, all right? And that's it. That's a stipulation. He has to be a good-looking, handsome lady killer, right? Good with the ladies, and British. That's the only stipulations. And people were talking about that in the comments. They said those were the only stipulations when the original script for 007 was written. All right? Now, he's got to be a white guy. Well, he's been like fucking 50 different actors now, so it really doesn't matter what he looks like. It's about who he is at the end of the day. All right? Now, I'm not the biggest fan of race swapping, right, at the end of the day, because I don't think it should be done to black characters. I don't think it should be done to white characters either. But Esau's been doing that for years upon years upon years. Right? Making POC, I hate to use that term, but Jake and even non-Jake, but they don't really matter. It's mostly Jake that we're talking about. It's all Jake we're talking about, as a fact. Other people don't matter. But so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, think about how many white portrayed Indians and white portrayed Latinos and even so-called black folk, man. But it's a problem when we take one of their characters, right? Now, I'm not a fan of it all around, right? Like Superman is Superman at the end of the day. He's always written as a white character, so it'd be weird to have a black Superman. Superman's one of those guys that kind of works well, though. He would be fine, all right? But there's other characters that it would just be, and more for me, it doesn't come back to the reason, Esau has a different reason for it. I don't particularly like it because I like more OC, original content, so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American characters, right? We don't need to just take Superman or Spider-Man like they did and make him black. Give us a new character, right? We already have very limited comic book characters as it is. We already have very limited black or brown, black and brown popularized characters, for lack of a better word. And they don't have to necessarily be cartoons. They can be live action as well. People like 007, right? We're on limited levels of black and brown, all right? I'm saying black and brown because that's what we're referred to in this world, but we're not black. There was no such thing as a black person, all right? Black is the color of asphalt. Nobody's that color, all right? We are various levels of brown, though. All right, I'll just say brown, and it includes so-called black folk as well. But we're limited on brown icons as it is, so why take Spider-Man and make him brown when you could have a whole new character? I don't fucking know. I'm not great at coming up with comic book characters, but I know a guy that is really good with art, and he's making new characters, and they're black, all right? And he's good with his art. He's making a comic book and stuff. Who knows if it'll ever get done before the end of the world. And that guy's a 2/3, but it's good art. It's good art, but it's just one of those things where you could make something new, but they don't want to do something new. They want to be lazy and just race swap it. But Esau doesn't like it because now they're brown. I don't give a shit now that they're brown. Make Spider-Man brown. Make Superman brown. Make them all brown. I don't give a shit at the end of the day. But the thing is, it's just like I'd rather have that go towards a new character, not just taking a character that already exists. But Esau, not my Superman. Not my Superman. You better not make him black. Right? Why? I mean, sure, it's a little weird, but there's nothing wrong with it at the end of the day. Right? No, you can't do that. It doesn't fit. I mean, he's a fucking alien at the end of the day, right? It doesn't. He can be any color, really. All right, you can make him. Would you freak out if they made him green for a comic? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't freak out if you made him green. But you make him brown, all of a sudden it's an issue. Fucking ridiculous. All right, and they kind of try to come up with bullshit excuse, like some white guy on the comments was saying. He said on the comment about making 007 black. He said, this doesn't really work for modern characters. When you take people like Jesus or Moses, you can make them brown and it's fine. No, it's not. You'd flip the fuck out. All right? Anytime we talk about the Savior being black, you flip the fuck out. Anytime we talk about biblical figures being black, you flip the fuck out. So you can't say that. You can't say, oh, it's fine. No, because if we started hanging up pictures of a black Messiah everywhere, you would lose your goddamn mind. You would freak the fuck out, right? So you can enough. And that's lies as well. All right, going back to their estranged from the womb. They go straight as soon as they be born, speaking lies, right? So let's get Proverbs 4:16. And that's all I really had to say about the 007 situation. Is that's just a fucking lie, all right? But back that because that's just a minor note. The main note is about this Richard Montañez guy, all right. And this is Proverbs 4:16. It says, "For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence." It says, "But the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble." And that's what happens with these devils, man, is that they have to cause someone to fall. They have to, do some mischief, some wickedness, and say, in multiple different ways. There's all different ways that they can do it. But this way, they're defaming this guy. They're defrauding him, all right, of what he did, all right, and basically taking away his culture, as they love to do. As I got a couple scriptures about that. They love to take whoever did something originally and replace it with themselves. Okay, let's get that in 1 Maccabees 3. And 48. Of course, this is a biblical narrative, right? Because that's what really matters. It's 1 Maccabees 3 and 48. It says, it says, "And laid open the book of the law." Well, let's get 47. "They fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their head and rent their clothes and laid open the book of the law wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images." So that shows, because now you when you look up the Bible, you see, the character Jesus, and it says that, but his real name is Yahushai. All right, Jesus and Yahushai biblically are the same character, or not the character, Slakia, are the same person, but they've turned Jesus into a character, right? Biblically in the Bible, when you see the name Jesus, that's Yahushai. Okay, let's talking about Yahushai. But why we don't use that name is because Jesus has been attributed to a character. Yahushua is not a character. He's a person. All right? Still around to this day. Jesus is a character. All right? He takes some of the stuff that is in the Bible, attributes that, but they made him white. All right? They made him love everybody. They made him go against what his father would say. He never went against the Father. Yahushua never went against the Father. And in the Bible, you're right. The Son never went against the Father. And it'll say Jesus there. But but that's Satan. But Jesus does go against the Father. Why? Because we know that Yahushua doesn't, the one that's in the Bible labeled as Jesus. But it says, "I and my Father are one." All right? So Yahushua, if the Lord doesn't like homosexuals, Yahushua doesn't like homosexuals. Okay? But Jesus loves everybody. Not in the Bible. Yahushua does not. All right? The person in the Bible that's named Jesus does not love everybody. But they've made this character of Jesus, all right, using that name that's in the Bible, which is a bad translation, and they ran with that bad translation. They built him into something completely different than the Bible person, all right, who is Yahushua in his real name. So, he allows all, he's down with feminism. He has long hair, even though it's a shame for a man to have long hair, as the Bible says. He's leprous, even though it says, his skin is like fine brass is burned in a furnace. So, it's a completely different guy, all right, that's pushing a different narrative, okay? So when you go and you look up Moses, he's white. You look up Aaron, he's white. When you look up any of the biblical figures, white. Jeremiah, white. They're all white, okay? And it says here, "Wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their image." And that's what they did, right? And I get that scripture to show you that that's what these Edomites do. Everything has to be them, even if it wasn't them. Paul, James, any of the Bible, Isaac, Moses, Aaron, right? None of these people were white. Okay? They were not white. They were black individuals, as they would be called today. They were melanated, so-called Negro individuals, all right, or Negroes, Latinos, or Native Americans, all right, of various different levels. Okay? That's what they were. But just as in Maccabees, 1 Maccabees talks about, the heathen come across and try to put their image in there. They want to be something that they were not, all right? Paul and Peter and, all these different biblical figures, they were not white. And they weren't, these white people were not them. They don't go back to them biblically. But they had to paint themselves, oh, Paul looked like me. This is me. Because you have to attribute everything to yourself. All right, you didn't make Hot Cheetos, but you have to attribute that to yourself. You didn't make AC, but you had to attribute that to yourself. Okay? You didn't go and make, formulate all the stuff that makes computers today, but you have to attribute that to yourself. Right? And that's why I got First Maccabees 3 and 48, because that shows you that they like to attribute things that they didn't do. They had nothing to do with to themselves. And then you say, you had nothing to do with this, you filthy spick beaner, right? But you're the one who had nothing to do with it. You're the one who had nothing to do with it. And you're defaming this guy from his creation, as you do with Jake's. And that's what you do, man. That's what you do. So, and if he really had nothing to do with it, you would have some pretty solid evidence, right? You would have some solid evidence. And until you have some solid evidence, I ain't buying it, right? Could there be the slight chance that this guy did not make Hot Cheetos? Sure. But until you have some proof that he didn't, all right, you say he has no proof that he did. But until you have 100% proof that he didn't, I can't believe you, because that's a stupid argument. All right, saying he had no involvement and making me just believe that is just as bad as just believing for no reason. All right, you made a movie about it. Maybe not you directly, but they have to consult you. They had the Frito-Lay brand in it. Okay, they don't just let. If I did something with Coke and I made it to where I was the lead character, all right, was a homosexual serial killer that liked touching on little girls and chopping people's heads open and slurping the brains out, but he worked at PepsiCo and it had their logos in it and stuff. You would not want that in there because it would be a lie and it could potentially hurt the brand. All right, it could potentially hurt the brand. So you're not going to let some guy, all right, talk about how he single-handedly made Cheetos and he had all the involvement for the Latino company and it was a very powerful movie for Latinos. And then just go, and you had to sign off on that, all right, even though it could potentially hurt your company and defraud your company, you're not going to sign off on that. So that's what I'm calling bullshit. You would have not made that movie. You would have not made it, but you would have not signed off on allowing that movie to be made. But you did, which makes me think that you, for some reason now, you don't want him associated with the brand. Why? Why? Because it's beat up on Issachar Day, right? That's what it is, man. It's beat up on Brown Day. All right, that's what it is lately with this fucking Trump-ass bitch, all right? That's what it is lately, all right? So, it just beat up on the Brown, right? With ICE and all this shit, it's all that, all right? That's the time that you want to do, man. It's just beat up on the Latino hour, right? And now you don't want your brand associated with them. Why? For what? For what? Because everything's got to be you. We made it. You didn't make shit, man. You didn't even, here it is, your blessing's the sword, and you didn't even make the sword. Here it is, your blessing, the modern day blessing is the modern day sword is the gun. You didn't even make guns, Esau. That was the Moabites, the Chinese. They were the first ones that made guns, not you. All right? And then swords. What, you think you made the sword? No, but the sword was used as a weapon, not to just slaughter people indiscriminately. All right? A defensive weapon that if you had to go to battle, it would be used. You didn't even make the sword. All right? You made weapons later on, all right, like torture shit, because, you have made some weapons, but all the original stuff, you didn't make that. You were in your caves. It was somebody, Jake or someone that made the original sword, all right? It wasn't you. So, here it is, you're in the cave, picking at your ass and, eating fucking berries off of a bush, all right, and raw meat. You didn't make it, all right? So, and we know you're a cunning hunter, all right, a man of the field, all right, and, we were a simple man, but you had a bow and arrow. You didn't make no bow and arrow, all right? That was just around, all right? So, not necessarily Israel, but, swords have been around really before, the nations were really divided like that, before they start having names like Israel and Esau and Moab. Before there was really tribes going on like that. Sword has been around, all right? So the sword has been around. So I can't necessarily say Jake made it, because they weren't really Jake at the time, but somebody made it, all right? So that's that, through that seed line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It goes back before, the tribes were named, but I'm not going to expect no fucking cave dwelling, beast man to know how to, do all these different types of things with, fashioning a sword. I don't know if you've ever seen how swords are made or knives are made, but I used to work in a modern day blacksmith shop, making knives and machetes and swords and all that stuff. And even the process we used, because we used plasma cutters to cut out rough shapes, and then we whittle it down and do a bunch of stuff with the grinding and all that stuff. There's a whole long process, and I'm not going to detail the whole long process, but there's a lot that goes into it, man. And while the guys that I was working with are Edomites, the original people, Jake makes things, and then Esau, they claim that they've done it, and they get to a point where they can make it, but it wasn't their original creation. All right, and that's what it is. And then they lie and say it was. So let's get Nahum 3:1. And that is one of the things that really pisses me off, is when you start claiming to do something that you didn't. Did you know I did this? No, you fucking didn't. Stop lying, man. It's like people at a gym or something new, like, my PR is 400. You did not lift 400 pounds. Well, your scrawny little ass. Do it. Well, I can't do it right now because I just got done with my work. Okay, well, do it tomorrow. I can't do it tomorrow. All right, well, when's the next time you're going to be in? I don't know. And the next time I'm in, I might not want to do it. Bro, because you're lying. Stop claiming that you did something that you didn't do. Just be genuine, man. I'm not going to say I made hot Cheetos. You want to know why? Because I didn't fucking make hot Cheetos. Okay? I'm not going to say I made, some dish because I didn't make that fucking dish. Okay? If my wife brings me some food to work, as she does, and someone says, that smells good, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I made it myself. Just give credit to where credit's due, man. If someone made it, say, hey, they made it. It's a great invention, isn't it? But Esau can't do that because they're pride. He's a proud man. He can't do that because he's too proudful to admit that he hasn't made shit. He hasn't made shit. Right? Useless. Fucking taking up space, man. Taking up useful oxygen. Right? Just a fucking oxygen thief. The street teacher, Elder Menatazatba would say. A street teacher would say, an oxygen thief. All right? You're just an oxygen thief. That's what you are. Over here taking up oxygen for no reason. Over here lying, stealing, raping, claiming you did things that you didn't do. Oxygen thief. All right? That's what Edomites are. Oxygen thieves. Useless, man. Nahum, you're just a belt. That's all you are, Esau. Well, what are we? You're a belt. You're our belt. Okay? You're the belt that whoops our ass. That's it. That's the only use. And you're only usable because you're on Yahweh Shem Yahushai's left-hand side. Yahweh's dealing with you on the left-hand side, and he's using you as the switch. He's using you as the hand. He's using you as the belt. That's it. You're the belt. Okay? You're the scourge. That's it. That's all you are. All right? And just as a switch is, once the ass is done being whooped, what do you do with the switch? You cast it aside. You throw it off and it withers away. All right? Because it's not of any use anymore. And it's coming a time where you're going to be not of any use anymore, Esau. And it's going to be too bad, so sad. All right, live it up while you still got it, you pussy-ass bitch. Yeah, because that's all, you're gonna revert to your old state, a crying, sniveling, little weak, red, wildebeest-ass bitch. All right? A baby-back bitch. That's what you're going to be, man. A baby-back bitch. Baby-back bitch. What movie was that from? I can't even remember. But that's what you're going to be. All right? A pussy. A cretin, all right, lower than the low. You're already lower than the low, all right, but you're going to even be lower than that. And everyone's going to be able to see it. It's going to be a spectacle. You're going to be a spectacle to behold. Everyone's going to see you, all right? They're going to see you. They're going to say, wow, man, look at this guy. This was the guy that was controlling Earth, right? This was him. What? How fucking pathetic. This couldn't be him. No way. And I said, yeah, it was really him. Wow. I can't believe it was really him. So, man, and you're going to be thrown into captivity. He who lead into captivity shall go into captivity. All right? He who killed with a sword shall be killed with a sword. So, you got some retribution coming. You got some payback, all right? And I heard payback's a motherfucking ninja. All right? That's why I'm tired of getting treated like a goddamn stepchild. All right? So, yeah, man. And that's how you treat us, like a goddamn stepchild. That's an old Ice Cube song. But, so, that's what you do. You treat us like we're lower than you when we're higher than you, man. That's like, you've thrown gold on the ground to pick up bronze, all right? You've thrown diamond dust on the ground to pick up, dirt, right? That's what you are. You're here thinking you're something, man. Man, another scripture, a man to think himself to be something when he is nothing, deceiveth himself. Okay? You're not deceiving us. We know you ain't nothing, man. We know you ain't shit. You ain't nothing. All right? Let me calm down. It's the dove hour. This is 2 Maccabees 7. Fuck you. 2 Maccabees 7 and 31. It says, and thou, you Esau, you, and thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews, shall not escape the hands of Yahweh. Did I get Nahum 3 and 1? Did I read it? Why do I feel like I didn't read it? Maybe I rushed by it too fast. Nahum 3 and 1. Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. That's what we'll close out with. But yeah, man, bloody city is referring, of course, to not just North America, but just specifically the USA, right? It's all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. Who's the prey? Us, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The lies and the robberies everywhere. They've lied, all right, that this guy didn't create Cheetos, and they've robbed him of his invention. There's a perfect example, right? That's what they've done, man. And back to 7, we'll close out with 2 Maccabees. Can I actually just go back like this? There we go. Hey, call all Yahweh Shem Shai. Didn't know I could do it like that. And thou, that has been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews, shall not escape the hands of Yahweh. You keep on fucking with us and 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 fucking with us. Guess what? The time is coming where you're going to be fucked with. You're going to be on the bottom. All right? We're going to drop an apple out of a basket on purpose. We're going to say, hey, pick that up, boy. Pick it up. Well, I'm not going to do it. I said pick it up now, boy. I'm going to smash your goddamn face in. Okay. And we'll be able to kill you and revive you, man. We'll be able to kill you and bring you back alive. In the kingdom of heaven, this ain't going to happen on regular earth right now. This place has got to pass away. In heaven, you think heaven's going to be great for you for the white people. No, you're going to slavery, boy. All right? Yeah, boy. You like saying boy and calling us boy? Well, guess what? You can be treated like a boy. All right? And if the dust of the earth even so much as comes up and gets on our shoes, man, I'm going to say, hey, scrub that off bit by bit, all right? And I want you to use, I'm going to pull up a seedling, all right, of a fucking bean plant, all right? And I'm going to say, I want you to brush off and clean my shoe with nothing more than this bean sprout, all right? And it better be clean, boy, or I'm going to bust you upside your teeth. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Well, that ain't right. Oh, it was right when you did it to us, all right? Here's the difference. It's going to be in righteous. It's going to be in righteousness, okay? So, and you shall be given to us for servants and handmaids, right? And shall be gathered unto the strangers, and they shall be given to them for servants and handmaids, all right? And they shall cling, all right? As it cling, they shall cleave, all right? They shall cleave to us, all right? Roughly paraphrasing. You can look that up. And the stranger shall gather them, and they shall be brought for servants and handmaids. Just type that in, roughly paraphrasing KJV, and it'll come right up. And that's what's going to happen, man. Y'all going into captivity for 1,000 years, all right? And then, you get to go away. What do you mean go away? We get to be done? We get to be out of captivity with you? No, you get to go away and never to return as a nation. Vaporized, dust. That's it, all right? Well, what happens to get everybody else? Oh, it's because you're just black, right? Oh, so everybody's all the Asians too, huh? And all the Middle East. No. They get to stay. They get to have that same 1,000 years of captivity. But after that, they get to go back in their dwelling lands, and we'll rule over them just as you ruled over us in power-wise, but we're going to be righteous. We're not going to just fuck with them to fuck with them. All right? They'll live. They'll get sick. We'll heal them. All right? They'll come to, keep the worship. All right? And they will have to worship Yahweh Shem Shai. All right? They will have to. All right? And they'll have to keep the feast days and all that stuff. Now they don't have to do that, but they will. You'll have to. All right? It will basically just be, a guiding rope to them, all right? Keeping them in line because they're going to keep trying to go off, all right? But, yeah, man. But you get to go away. Gone. Kaput. Perished. Done. All right? Gathered and burnt. Toast. All right? So, and you ain't going to be toast. You ain't going to even be the little crumbs that happen in the toaster at the end, all right, that fall off the bread. You ain't even going to be that. You're just going to be gone. Never to return as a nation. All right, what's going to happen as to your souls? Who knows? But he ain't going to return as Esau. All right, so that's that, man. E's hatred, Black 007, and Richard Montañez. The whole fucked up situation, man. Whole fucked up situation. Just Esau's lies. So we're going to close out with that. Lord, what was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Akakwadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there, Yaakman Akwa. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Keep watching for more lies. Until next one, Lord willing, shalom.